Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Krishna,
Hare Rama,
Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna. Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Radhe, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama. And again, everyone, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna. Mahaprabhu is leaving Benares. He's traveled from Jagannath Puri hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilometers. He stopped in, he went through the Jarikhanda forest, and that whole time he's thinking, seeing everything in relationship with Vrindavan. So he's traveling for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, just thinking about Vrindavan. He's seeing everything in relationship to Vrindavan. He gets to Benares after passing through the Jarikhanda forest, and he has to indirectly deal with the Mayavadis of Benares, and he criticizes them saying that they are offenders, because there's no hope for them to get to Goloka Vrindavan. Why? 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 Why is there no hope for them to get to? Yes.
Because the ultimate goal is to merge with the impersonal.
Yeah, they don't want to go to Vrindavan. They think they think of Krishna and devotional service and the holy dhams and the paraphernalia. Maya, temporary illusion. Because Krishna says, Yaya tamam prapadyante, I will reciprocate with you, which itself is a very interesting concept that we'll speak about in a moment. But they don't want to go there. And they really can't get to the, even the Brahman effulgence, seeing everything as Krishna, so hum, etc. Hum Brahman. They can't get there either, because one needs some bhakti, actual bhakti, to gain any result on the spiritual path. So they can't go there because they don't want to go there. Which brings to the question is, if they can't go there because they don't want to go there and they want to go to Brahman, but where do you want to go? That's the interesting question it brings up. Because we can't go where we don't want to go. Sometimes, at different stages of my spiritual life, you hear that in Vrindavan there's some residents of Vrindavan who just make flowers, garlands all day long. They think, oh, golly, gee, that sounds very boring. Forever, eternity, just like stringing flower garlands. But of course it isn't like that. But so we don't want that, and we can't really conceive of what the spiritual consciousness in the spiritual realm is like. So what do we actually want? Well, I said that in a general way, instead of what do we want, because there's no telling what we as a group want. But what do you want, actually? Actually, is it to become free from the sufferings of material existence? We step forward in our life sort of imagining that if this situation is there, or I'm wealthy, or I've married and have so many kids and so many cars and so many houses and so many, but we end up with just so many anxieties. And we don't like that. It's contrary to our dream. So there's such a tendency just want to, well, the first stage is I want, thinking it's going to make me happy. That's what I want. Well, so many things of this world. And then another stage is, well, I don't really want these things, but I'm just so tired of having an old, worn-out body, and so tired of this problem and so tired of that problem. I just want it all to end. And then there's everything in between, and it's the rarest of persons who actually wants to be with Krishna. And if someone actually has that desire, then it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. One may have to get through certain issues in one's life, or fulfill certain minor desires, or whatever, but it's just a matter of time. That's if someone has an honest, simple desire to be with Krishna. Even if one has expressed it once to Krishna, Sakrideva Papanastam Tavasmi, I am yours. If one gives oneself in the best moment of one's life, If one gives oneself to Krishna, even one time, Krishna never forgets that. Tadam yetad vritam mama. If that person wants courage, I will give them courage to deal with the world. I will care for them. Because one time they said, I am yours, to Krishna. And then you look at the example of Ajamil, who was a fallen soul, and he called his son Narayan, and at the end of his life he was calling his son Narayana, 4 syllables. And Krishna heard that. Lord Narayan heard that calling, although it wasn't pure. And when he heard it, he said, my devotee is calling me, and it is my duty to give him protection. And protection, going to Krishna for protection, and not anywhere else, going solely to Krishna for protection, is the first main step in spiritual life. I mean, not the first main step, but it's a, what's it called? What do you once gave me a book called The Tipping Point or something like that. So it's like a tipping point where Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur says if one surrenders to Krishna in that way, Krishna hears their prayers. So it's a process, but we should know where we want to go on this process and where we don't want to go. Do we have to taste everything in the material world to say no? Or have we had enough? But to say we've had enough means that probably in previous life we have tasted everything. Or is it one more thing do we want? Do I need a new, what's your favorite kind of car, Brother Mohan?
No idea.
You have no idea. Would you like, that's a great name for a car, called No Idea. And it does everything. All you have to do is think of a place and maybe it's called a Bimana or something. So it's interesting to think that my desire for Krishna isn't maybe so strong, but what actually do I want? What is it that I do want? Because that's like anchors, but it doesn't make any difference in one sense. Even if we have desires, a kama sarva kamava, moksha kama, tivrena bhakti, if we can just worship Krishna, if we can just have that desire strong within us, it doesn't make a difference about all the rest. Tivrena bhakti yogini ajeta purusha paru. We just worship Krishna and everything else will be taken care of, one way or the other. But do you ever ask yourself, what do I really want to? Sometimes. Well, continue asking yourself. I won't ask you to reveal it, whatever it is, whatever the things are. But you want to serve the devotees. So that's wonderful. Actually, I don't have it with me, but there's a whole section. First I heard about this section because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur spoke about it. And then I read it in Chaitanya Bhagavatam. I can't remember exactly where it is, where it describes that serving the devotees is actually the best part of, the easiest part of the process. Not easiest, but it says that it's the most guaranteed part of the process to bring the results. It's service to the devotees. And Srimad-Bhagavatam Das Thakur says that it's, and don't think that service to the devotees is a means to gain something else. It's the goal, he says. So that's so astounding, because naturally in this world people are upwardly mobile. They want the top thing. But that is the top thing. It's quite astounding. Because one would think that that I want to serve Krishna directly. because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that's not how the residents of Vrindavan think. They think they want to serve those who are closest to Krishna because that will give Krishna, so they serve others. So Mahaprabhu even said, Gopi Bharta Parakamaleya Dasa Dasa No Das. So it's not material consciousness, it's something quite different. And what's and therefore it's tricky to explain, to preach to others in a sense, but what is, because it's very hard to explain because people's concepts are just so different. They want to be number one, or if they can't be number one, at least they want to be number two. And if and the religious paths, and Prabhupada will explain this in one of this very long purport that comes up just when he first gets to Mathura Vrindavan, such a long purport, and he explains it. It's just so difficult to understand what real religion is. And Bhagavatam Dharma Project Caitanya, it just disagrees with all. So there's one interview with Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, and he's explaining the Bhagavatam teaches this, and it, teaches just give up everything and just engage in your relationship with Krishna. So the person he was speaking to, he was thinking that this is just his interpretation of the Bhagavatam. And he asked, is there anyone who disagrees with what you're saying? And he said, in Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in typical Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur styles, said, yes, everyone disagrees. Because everyone wants to play around in the material world and have a different concept of what spiritual life is and what religion is. It's either to get something material, to go to heaven and enjoy like anything, or become free from material suffering, or to even merge into the body of Krishna, the Paramatma or something, or go to some place where you don't have to apply to the council every time you have to do something, want to do something. But that's not what religion means. And even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that gratefulness isn't even spiritual. It isn't bhakti. Because I'm still in the center. But there's another point on this, because nowadays gratefulness is very much in vogue, and even amongst the devotees too. I'm grateful for this, I'm grateful for that. And because it's so much better to be grateful than ungrateful. At least you're appreciating what one has. And that's so much better than not appreciating what one has and always be miserable because one doesn't have what one thinks will make one happy. So gratefulness is actually wonderful, but it's not quite bhakti unless we get out of the center. So this Krishna consciousness is very, very subtle, putting Krishna in the center, that I don't want anything other than to make you happy, Krishna. That's love for Krishna. Excuse me, what did you say, Prabhu? It's okay, you don't have to. We all just enjoy looking at him and playing with him. He's in an active mood today, yes? It seems. Hey, Haribo. So this desire, the desire to love Krishna and not play in the material world, if that's increasing, and on the other side, the playing in the material world, that desire is decreasing, then we're moving forward. Not that we shouldn't do our proper duties, but the secrets of our heart should be kept very, very clean and pure, as much as we practically can. And if we have that as our goal, to increase our love for Krishna and not be involved, one of the results of that will be humility. At least that's what I've seen. If we keep a low goal, then we'll be proud if we get it. But if we have this wonderful goal, that will keep us very humble and in a serving mood. So Mahaprabhu left Benares and he went to, and he started on the road to Mathura. Very early, he started from Mathura. And when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu started from Mathura, all the three devotees started to go with him. But the Lord forbade them to accompany him. And from a distance, he asked them to return home. So they went for some time with him, and please let us go with you. There was Tapan Misra and Acharya and the Maharashtrian Brahmana who had told Prakasananda Saraswati about the glories of Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu and Mahaprabhu had accepted him as his devotee. And then how did the devotees who had been left behind when he was going to Vrindavan, what did they do? Prabodha Varahe Tina Ekatra Maliya, the three of them, they would get together feeling great separation from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they would discuss Gunagan, the qualities and activities of Mahaprabhu together, and in doing so, they were absorbed in ecstatic love. The same thing happened when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling in South India, and he went to the house of the Korma Brahmin, and then he saved the leper Vasudeva. And then, that's such an astounding pastime. But then when he left immediately after that, and they cried, and then they just consoled each other by speaking about his glories and qualities. It's called Varaha Bhav. That's the process that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught of developing love for Krishna. It's missing him. And how can one miss someone who one has never met? We should meet him through the books and the devotees. Who's an example of someone who fell in love with Krishna or just by hearing about him? Rukmini Devi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then went to Prayag, where he bathed in the confluence of the Ganga and the Jamuna. He then visited the temple of Veni Madhava and chanted and danced there in ecstatic love. He was absorbed, and as he was getting closer to Vrindavan, his enthusiasm was increasing because he was near that place where he had been walking and thinking about it, and he was getting closer and closer and closer. As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the river Yamuna as he was going, he threw himself into it. And Balabhaja Bhattacharya hastily caught the Lord, and very carefully raised him up again. So just by seeing the actual Yamuna, previously he would see every river while he was going through Jharkhanda as if it was the Yamuna. Now he actually saw the Yamuna, and immediately in ecstasy, not in a calculated way, he jumped in. And in ecstasy, he went completely internal, thinking this is the Yamuna where Krishna sported, where the pastimes happened with the gopis, where Krishna played with the cows and the cowherd boys and Kaliya, and just thinking of Krishna in this way, he became so ecstatic that, that he basically was unconscious on the material level. He was fully conscious on this internally, and then Balabhadra would rescue him. And this is actually, turns out to be the reason why Balabhadra, Bhattacharya, and later on the Sanodia Brahman and the Rajput Krishnadas, they understand, especially Balabhadra Bhattacharya, they understand we can't keep him in Vrindavan any longer. It's just because even before he got to Vrindavan, anytime just the hearing the word Vrindavan would cause Mahaprabhu to go in ecstasy. And then when he was actually there, and we're going to hear about that in the next 2 chapters, especially in the next chapter. No, it's actually in this chapter. It's quite astounding how this person who was always just thinking about Krishna Vrindavan, when he actually gets there, how he's just completely in an internal mood. And the land of Vrindavan is reciprocating with him, which you can also experience. Is alive, and Mayapur too. It's alive, it's not like dull matter. Of course, Krishna can reciprocate with his devotee anywhere, if he so desires, but these places are so special. The Lord stayed in Prayag for 3 days. He delivered the holy name of Krishna and ecstatic love. So everywhere he went, he was carrying this ecstasy. And everyone was so attracted because we're all living in the shadow realm, trying to be happy in the reflection. Just like if we're very, very hungry and we see a feast, there's a feast, but we only see the mirror reflection of the feast, and we try to satisfy our hunger in the reflection. And we find that it doesn't taste like glass. And we can't understand why. It doesn't bring the satisfaction that I long for. So Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love was, one could say this was his great preaching strategy. He was internally absorbed in love for Krishna. He didn't only talk about it, he was in love with Krishna. And he was chanting and dancing continuously. And wherever the Lord stopped to rest on the way to Mathura, he delivered the holy name of Krishna and ecstatic love for Krishna. Krishna Nama Prema Diya Lokera Nataya. And then he made the people dance. Thus he made the people dance in ecstasy. It was like being in touch with a live electrical wire. It's shocking, literally. So people being in touch with Mahaprabhu's ecstasy of love for Krishna, they were shocked by the experience, and they were never the same again. And they caught what he had, and that was love for Krishna. That's what he was, love for Krishna. And then, when the Lord toured South India, he delivered many people. And when he traveled in the western sector, he similarly delivered many people to Vaishnavism. While the Lord was going to Mathura, he came across the Yamuna, the river Yamuna, several times. The road was going this way, and the Yamuna, so he would see the Yamuna on several occasions, and he would immediately, not even thinking, oh, here's the Yamuna, I think I should bathe in the Yamuna. It wasn't like that. He would immediately jump in, falling unconscious in the water, in the ecstasy of love for Krishna. Prema, Caitanya, unconscious, And then he approached Mathura. And he saw the city. He immediately fell on the ground and offered obeisances with great ecstatic love. So everywhere he went, he was in Vrindavan now, Mathura, Vrindavan, Brajmandal. He was in ecstasy. Everywhere, everything he saw, everything he did was filled with ecstatic love. Of course, that was everywhere, but everything had increased so much more exponentially. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the city of Mathura, what was the first thing he did after? He offered obeisances and, yes, he went to Vishwamghat and bathed. Raise your hand if you've been to Vishwamghat. No? Why?
Not yet.
Huh?
Not yet.
Okay. Yes. Did you bathe there?
Yes.
What is the place of Vishram? What does Vishram mean? Vishram. He was resting. So who rested there after killing Kamsa? Give you a hint. And also Krishna dragged Kamsa's body there and performed the funeral ceremony for Kamsa, but he rested there after killing Kamsa. And Mahaprabhu bathed there. Vishwamghat. There are many ghats or bathing places all along the Yamuna in that area, with all different names. So he bathed, fell to the ground, great ecstatic love. He took his bath in Vishwamghat. He then visited the birthplace of Krishna, Janmastan, and he saw the deity whose name was Keshavji. He offered his respectful obeisances to the deity. Prabhupada's purport is historically important. At the present moment, the temple of Keshavji is very much improved, the Janmastan. At one time, Keshavji Mandir was attacked by the Emperor Aurangzeb, who constructed such a big mosque there that the temple of Keshavji was insignificant in comparison. But with the help of many rich Marwaris, the temple has been improved, and a very large temple is now being constructed, so that the mosque is now appearing diminished in comparison. So this point, there's a point in here that I wanted that it will come up later, that I won't talk about it now. Many archaeological discoveries have been made there, and many people from current foreign countries are beginning to appreciate Krishna's birthplace. Now, this is an interesting sentence, how Prabhupada ends this purport. This Krishna Consciousness movement is attracting many followers to the Keshavji temple, and now they will also be attracted by the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. Now, what's interesting about that? What do you think is interesting about that? Yeah. Excuse me.
Maybe the temple hadn't been built yet.
Yeah. Krishna Balaram Mandir hadn't been built yet. And when we first went to Vrindavan, and even before we got there, the devotees thought that, the Krishna Balaram temple, the land in Ramanreti, was so far away from the center of Vrindavan town, they were wondering if anyone would even go to the temple because it was so far away. Now, raise your hand if you've seen Krishna Balaram Mandir recently. No? When will you go?
8 to 10 months, maybe.
Oh. Okay. 8 to 10 months. Would you like to go to see Vrindavan?
Yeah.
Okay. Krishna's mercy. So at this time, Vrindavan was very, very small. I mean, relatively small, and the Vrindavan town, and Krishna Balaram Mandir hadn't been built even, or maybe had just been built. And Prabhupada is saying that people, the Westerners, are going to the Janmastan because they're finally they're hearing about Krishna. And they'll also perhaps be attracted to Krishna Balaram Mandir, but now Krishna Balaram Mandir is so crowded that practically you can't even go inside of it, practically speaking. Was that your experience? But you like it? So time changes things. So at one point, the Janmastan was there, some Keshavji Mandir, and with the deity of Keshava. And then Aurangzeb came and built a big mosque there to show what? To show how his religion was better than this religion. Usually they break the temples and build them right on it. And then after some time, then a new temple, Mandir, that made the mosque seem small, was built. And then Krishna Balaram Mandir is there, and Vrindavan is so full of cars and everything that no one could have conceived of this happening, that Krishna has become so, you could say, so popular. So, when Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu chanted and danced and made loud vibrations, so he offered his respects to Keshavji. When Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu chanted, danced, and made loud vibrations, all the people were astonished to see his ecstatic love. Because people, when they go to temples, they're like this. But Mahaprabhu's mood was completely different. It was just spontaneous love for Krishna. And the people, Loke Chamatkar, seeing this, they see Prabhu Premavesh, seeing his love. Deki, people were, the people were Chamatkar. This is amazing. They were astounded. This is so wonderful. No one, or almost no one, had ever seen anything like this before. And one Brahmin fell at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mahaprabhu was in complete ecstasy, practically unaware of anything, and people were astonished. And that one Brahmana then began to dance with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in ecstatic love. He became Premavesh also. He was Nritya Kori. Prabhu Sangha, in Mahaprabhu's association, he began to dance in ecstasy also. And the two of them danced in ecstatic love. And then they embraced each other and they raised their arms and they said, chant the holy names of Hari and Krishna. Hari Krishna Kaha. Duhe Bali Bahu Tule. They put their hands in the air and they were dancing and chanting, both of them. And all the people then, seeing them, began to chant, Hari, Hari. And there was a great uproar. Everyone began to chant. And the priest, the pujari, Sevak, Kesava Sevak Prabhuke, Mala Parila. He gave Mahaprabhu. The pujari gave Mahaprabhu a garland. And interesting, the word that Kaviraj Goswami uses, not pujari. What word did he use? Because pujari means what? The one who's doing what? one who's serving, doing his seva, is making his offering. So the pujari always thinks of himself not as a pujari, but a sevak, a servant of the deities. And all the people began to chant Hari Hari, and there was a great uproar. The priest in Lord Kesava's service offered Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu a garland. And when the people saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing and chanting, they were struck with wonder. And they all said, such transcendental love is never an ordinary thing. Vismay. They were all astonished. Because no one had ever seen anything like this before. This beautiful young sannyasi, effulgent, so beautiful, so tall, so handsome. He's dancing and chanting in ecstasy along with one of the local Brahmins. And the people said, simply by seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, everyone is maddened with love for Krishna. Indeed, everyone is laughing, crying, and dancing. All the people began to chant and dance and laugh and cry, and they took the holy name of Krishna. Certainly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is in all respects the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Krishna, they say, he is Krishna avatar, who has come to Mathura to deliver everyone, Nishtar, to deliver everyone. I've also at different times spoke to different Mathura Vasis, and I asked them what their desire is. At least this one person I spoke to, who was on a train going to Bombay where he was working. He said, I just want to take my next birth in Mathura in the same family and just enjoy the happiness of family life in Mathura. Because people, again, don't have a clear concept of their souls, or even if they understand their souls, eternal. What is the purpose of my life? And what is, people just don't even think about this throughout the world now, especially nowadays. And therefore people go through life quite unconscious. We just do what we do, and then the next day we do what we do, and the next day we do what we do, and the next day we do what we do, and the next day we do what we do, and we think it's going to go on like that forever. And then one doesn't think of what is the purpose of all the days, one after another, of doing what I do. And Prabhupada was so strong on this. Just to maintain oneself, one has to work so hard every day, having a job and a boss. Even worse than a job is having a boss, unless you have a good boss. But if you have a bad boss, has anyone ever had a bad boss and had a job where there was a really bad boss? I know one person who has. You had the same boss for how many years? 15 years. I think he wasn't a very good boss, but he wasn't a bad boss. He liked Muralidhar Prabhu so much. He wasn't doing very much, but he was the chief financial officer. But as long as he was there, he was satisfied. The boss was satisfied. And as long as Muralidhar could do whatever he wanted there, he was satisfied. And he never gave Muralidhar a raise, like 15 years or something. And Muralidhar didn't care, because Muralidhar was Muralidhar, self-satisfied. And he could do whatever he wanted. Sorry. And he used to study mostly. And as long as you were there, he was happy. And this man was very, very wealthy, and in all things. He used to make the cork bottles for champagne. The cork from the champagne bottles opening like that. Can you becoming wealthy making corks for champagne bottles? What a world. Corks for champagne bottles. Yeah. Is he still alive? Is he wealthy?
He's wealthy, yeah.
Is he healthy?
Health is not good.
You know, but every day, just working, without thinking what's the purpose of it all. Day after day, year after year. And then one day, it's over. And what's next? So there's no thought about this. Everyone is living unconsciously, practically speaking. Unconsciously, what to speak of Krishna consciously, unconsciously. So the people were saying, he must be Krishna avatar, because he has this potency to make everyone ecstatic and dance and chant. And that went on for some time. Mahaprabhu's dancing, this elderly Brahmin is dancing with him, local man. And then after this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took that Brahmana aside because he had never seen it. The Brahmin hadn't seen anyone like Mahaprabhu before, and Mahaprabhu hadn't seen anyone quite like him before either. And sitting in a solitary place, that means he was going to ask him a question confidentially. The Lord began to question him. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are an elderly Brahmana, you are sincere, and you are advanced in spiritual life. You have love for Krishna. You're dancing and chanting in ecstasy. Where from have you gotten this transcendental opulence of ecstatic love for Krishna? Where did you get this from? The Brahmin replied, His Holiness Sripad Sri Madhavendra Puri, Brahmate, while wandering on touring, he, Oila Mathura Nagari, he came to the village of Mathura. And while at Mathura, Sripad Madhavendra Puri visited my home, the Brahmin said, and he accepted me as his disciple. He even took lunch in my home. And then the Mathura Brahmana said something that's going to influence Mahaprabhu to do something. He said, after installing the deity of Gopal, Sri Madhavendra Puri rendered him service, and that very deity is still being worshipped in Govardhan Hill. And Mahaprabhu heard this. And there's no further mention of this right here. But Mahaprabhu did not forget. And when he went to Govardhan, he wanted to see that deity. And as soon as Caitanya Mahaprabhu heard about Madhavendra Puri's relationship with the Brahmin, what was that relationship? He was a disciple. And what else? What did they meet? Okay. We didn't do very well in our reading. Okay, please pay attention. Mahaprabhu asked him, the Brahmana, you're an elderly Brahmin, you're sincere, and you're advanced spiritual life. Where have you gotten the transcendental opulence of ecstatic love for Krishna? So he asked. And the Brahmin replied, His Holiness Sri Madhavendra Puri came to the city of Mathura while he was Brahmate, wandering on tour. And while at Mathura, because they're in Mathura now, and the Brahmin is a Mathura Brahmin. Sripad Madhavendra Puri visited my house and accepted me as a disciple. The second thing. He even took lunch at my house. And after installing the deity of Gopal, Srila Madhavendra Puri rendered him service. That very deity is still being worshipped at Govardhan Hill. And as soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard that Madhavendra Puri's relationship with the Brahmin, he immediately offered obeisances at his feet, because he was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, the Brahmin, and Mahaprabhu was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So therefore, out of respect for the disciple of his, the godbrother of his guru, out of respect for the godbrother of his guru, he immediately fell at obeisances at his feet. And the Brahmin, seeing this, effulgent, ecstatic sannyasi, who was beautiful and young and so effulgent and ecstatic and dancing in ecstasy, and then he paid obeisances to this Brahmin, and the Brahmin became fearful. He became afraid. And then he immediately fell at the feet of Mahaprabhu. So they're both offering obeisances to each other. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You are on the platform of my spiritual master, because you are the disciple of Madhavendra Puri, and my Guru Maharaj Sripad Ishwar Puri is a disciple of Ishwar Puri. And therefore I am your disciple. And since you are my spiritual master, it is not befitting," Mahaprabhu said, "that you offer me obeisances." And upon hearing this, the Brahmin became afraid again. These people are saying that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of his unlimited influence, and he, so beautiful, so effulgent, and so ecstatic, is offering obeisances at my feet and saying that I'm his guru, and he's my disciple. So this didn't work in his mind. First of all, from the Varnashrama position, he was a sannyasi, and the Brahmin was the householder. So the Brahmin then said, "Why do you speak like this? You are a sannyasi. Upon seeing your ecstatic love, I can just imagine that you must have some relationship." So he said this to Madhavendra Puri, to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just seeing your ecstasy of ecstatic love for Krishna, I can just imagine. Anumani means logically estimating that you must have some relationship with Madhavendra Puri. This is my understanding, just by the ecstasy that Mahaprabhu was exhibiting. This is a symptom that you have a relationship with Madhavendra Puri, he thought. And this kind of ecstatic love can be experienced only when one has a relationship with Madhavendra Puri. Without him, even a scent, even the fragrance, kahan nahi ganda, not even a fragrance. There's no possibility of that scent, that fragrance of ecstatic love. And look at you, it's blossomed fully. Not only the fragrance or the reflection, it's fully manifesting. And then Mahaprabhu didn't say anything, but Balabhadra Bhattacharya then explained the relationship between Madhavendra Puri and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And after hearing this, the Brahmin became very pleased, and he began to dance. He then took Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his home, and out of his own free will, he began to serve the Lord in various ways. He asked Balabhadra Bhattacharya to cook Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's lunch. At that time, the Lord, smiling, spoke to him as follows. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "Madhavendra Puri has already taken lunch at your place." So there's some cultural background of this. "And therefore you may cook." The Sanodiya Brahmin didn't think himself qualified to cook because in spiritually and culturally, there was a problem with him cooking. A sannyasi is very careful about where he eats, who he associates with, because, and the culture was really like this. I remember hearing, I've mentioned this previously, that in, I can't remember who it was, but one devotee, older devotee from a Brahmin family, when he was a young boy in the village, his mother found out that he had played with someone of a lower caste, and she immediately brought him in, had him bathe to purify himself. This kind of thinking is so unheard of today, and it's just like the rigid caste system ruins everything. But there's a subtle spiritual reason for all this. It's because who you associate with, who you touch, why the quote untouchables called, why didn't people touch them? Because the idea is whatever you touch is going to influence. There's an exchange of energies. And the people had to keep themselves so pure. They didn't even want a slight contamination to enter their consciousness, or their bodies and their consciousness. But in Kali Yuga, it's just becomes just a formality and a thing that gets in the way of spiritual life. But there was a spiritual reason for it. But now people's consciousness don't have that kind of subtlety. And it gets worse and worse every day. The more contamination from Kali Yuga is brought into attracted into forced into our consciousness, invited into our consciousness. So Mahaprabhu said, Madhavendra Puri has already taken lunch in your place. So what? So in all cultures, especially these old cultures, not in all cultures, but in the older cultures, there are so many rules and regulations of what you can do and what you can't do. Not only in the Indian culture, but in all old cultures. You do it this way, you do that in this particular way, and you do this, and you relate it this way, and you do this on this day. I remember talking to one. Maybe you could open up the door. And a little bit more. And a little bit more. And yes. So one devotee who was born in a Brahmin family in Nepal, he told me that when he was young, he was with his grandfather, and he wore shorts instead of a dhoti in the presence of his grandfather. And his grandfather was so upset. And he was telling me how strict the culture was, is that in one season, when the Brahmins are bathing, they face in this direction. Another season, they face in that direction. Everything is according to the season, according to the place. There's rules and regulations for everything. Of course, no one understood the purpose of doing it like that way, but it was culturally followed. So strict it was really, and Prabhupada's going to have this long purport when he explains that no one has any concept of what the purpose of religion is, or following rules and regulations. They think that the following is the purpose. This is if they follow at all, but in the modern world, they don't follow anything. They just see it as superstition, because the people lost their ability to understand the purpose of it, lost the consciousness to understand what the goal of it all was. So the Bhagavatam is so different. It's Projita Caitanya. It kicks out all the forms of religion. Sarvadhamam prityaja mamekam sharanam. It just focuses on the purpose. So there's so much can be said on all this, and we won't do it right now. So I think we'll just stop here, and then we'll continue with this because it's such an important, rich topic. The Madhavendra Puri has taken lunch at your place. Therefore you may cook and give me the food. That is my instruction. Whatever a great man performs, common men follow, and whatever standards he sets by his exemplary acts, all the world pursues, from the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's words. The Brahmin belonged to the Synodiya Brahmana community, and a sannyasi does not accept food from such a Brahmana. So there's a whole explanation that maybe we'll read next time, but I just wanted to end with, because the point being that the essence of what the religious principles, they're in the heart of the pure soul, because he understands the purpose of them. It's not the external formularities that may be appropriate for one age when people understood things, but they may not be appropriate for other ages. So that's the topic, Krishna willing, we shall begin with next week. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments? Yes.
Gyaneshwari Gopi Devi Dasi Mataji is asking.
Who?
Gyaneshwari Mataji.
Oh, yes, yes.
So Mataji is saying, Prabhu, we see how Lord arranged a gradual introduction to pure bhakti through Shankaracharya eradicating Shunyavad with Mayavad. Then Ramanuja and Madhva established dualism before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave pure bhakti. So what is the mercy and purpose behind Krishna arranging in this way, especially for Kali Yuga souls like us?
Arranging in this way, meaning?
Meaning initially it was Shunyavad through Shankaracharya, and then dualism
Well,
came.
before Shunyavad came Buddha, Lord Buddha, because it's a long history. And Lord Buddha saw the people were using the Vedic formulas and principles for making basically a slaughterhouse to kill animals. So he said, I don't care about the Vedas. And then Shankaracharya reestablished the Vedas. Anyway, it's an interesting topic. But what was the question again?
The question was, why did Krishna arrange it in this way for Kali Yuga souls like us?
That way, or the way of Mahaprabhu? Where?
So eventually it came to pure bhakti from Mahaprabhu.
Yes,
but initially it was different things.
But it was different things, and now, because Mahaprabhu was the Yuga avatar, and what is the business of the Yuga avatar is to establish the methodology of religion that's suitable and practical for a particular age. So the Kali Yuga avatar is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is described a little bit later in Mahaprabhu's teachings to Sanatana Goswami. And it's so clear by the Shastric verses that Mahaprabhu is the Yuga avatar. And Kali Dadhari Kirtanam, that which was gained in Krita Yuga through meditation on Vishnu, and that which is in Treta Yuga attained by performing sacrifices, and that which is attained in Dwapara Yuga by worshipping the deity, the form of the Lord. It's all attained just by chanting Krishna's holy names. Kalo Dadhari Kirtanat. So why did Krishna make this arrangement? Because he likes us. What can one say? He feels compassion. What would we do otherwise? Otherwise people just have, because there's something so attractive to the kirtan, you need no knowledge. You don't need any piety, practically speaking. The kirtan of the holy names is just so powerful, it draws everyone in. And without any experience, without any previous experience, one can experience the fragrance that comes down from the spiritual world through the Sankirtan of the holy names. So it's strictly out of mercy. I'm not sure I answered the question, but that was my answer. Any other questions or comments? Someone must have a question. I know that. No? No? You wait till after to ask your questions. Yes?
How can we, you mentioned that even being grateful is...
But I didn't say we shouldn't be grateful. I'm saying it's not pure bhakti,
So
but it's prerequisite, you could
when
say.
we are being grateful, let's say, for different things to Krishna, how is it different from bhakti? Like, how can we distinguish this little subtle...
Well, if I'm in the center of the thought, then it's not bhakti. But if Krishna is in the center, so Krishna is so kind, that's a different mood than other than gratefulness, in the sense that gratefulness is that you've given me this. It's about me.
It's like Nishkam Karma Yoga and pure bhakti.
Well, either that or just thank you for this new car. Krishna, I'm so grateful to Krishna for giving me a new car and a new job and a nice this and a nice that. But so then it's about me in that sense. But to be grateful for Krishna's mercy and the mercy of the devotees and the kindness of devotees, it's different. But because it should give birth to a wanting to please them and serve them in that sense. Good question, thank you. Any other? Yeah.
It's like the same sort of question, but in a different situation, let's say. For example, if I'm grateful to Krishna for giving this body, but because with this form I can remember something of
Him.
Krishna's form.
Yeah, so that's proper. Then it's more on the bhakti level. And then acting on it is still better. So if it's like, it seems that it's like gratefulness on the material level is born of the mode of goodness, because ungratefulness is terrible. It's the worst thing, to be ungrateful. You get so much that nothing satisfies you. But then, if a devotee is grateful, and then turns it into service, that why should, it's because I'm not the center. It doesn't stop with, I'm grateful for you for giving this to me. But when the devotee doesn't stop with that, or a truly grateful person naturally says, I must want to reciprocate with the person. I have to do something for this person, not have it just remain grateful. Something like that. Is that okay?
It's all right.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much. Sri Caitanya Caritamrta ki jai, Caritamrta Swami ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivedanta ki jai, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's arrival in Vrindavan ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.